Imagine a cosmic event is hurtling toward Earth right now. Not like a physical asteroid you can track with a telescope, but an invisible wave of energy that will instantaneously render the last 5,000 years of human history entirely obsolete.
Wow.
Yeah. What if surviving this incoming wave required you to abandon your country, your religion, and even your family immediately?
That is intensely high stakes.
It really is. Today, we're opening a document that claims this isn't some distant science fiction scenario. It's claiming it's happening right now, and the window to save yourself is closing.
I mean, it's a profoundly aggressive framing, right? When a text presents itself not just as, an alternative philosophy, but as this absolute ticking clock matter of biological and spiritual survival.
Right.
It fundamentally rewrites the reader's relationship to the information. You're no longer reading to learn, you're reading to escape.
Exactly. And the document making these staggering claims is this manifesto-style text titled, "The Pioneers of the New Era. Please come close to Life Chanyuan."
Quite a title.
Yeah, and the author identifies themselves simply as Deiform Buddha. Our mission for this deep dive is to really dissect the architecture of this text.
Right, to see how it's built.
Yes. We're going to look at the sweeping promises it makes, from these sudden cosmic shifts that alter human consciousness to the total dismantling of modern society and, the very concept of the traditional family.
But setting the parameters of this deep dive is crucial before we jump into the material.
Oh, absolutely. I want to make that very clear to you, the listener, right from the start. We are here to impartially report on the contents of this text.
We are not endorsing anything.
Exactly. We are not validating or taking sides on any of the ideological, political, or spiritual viewpoints presented in this document. Our goal is strictly analytical.
Right. We're looking at the mechanics of the argument, the psychology behind its construction.
Yes, and the fascinating concepts contained within the original source material, just to understand its underlying message.
We are examining the blueprint of the building, mapping out the structural supports and the exits. We are not moving into the house.
Okay, let's unpack this, because before we even begin to visualize what this proposed new era looks like, we have to examine the catalyst.
The why now of it all.
Right. Usually, when society undergoes a massive paradigm shift, we can point to a tangible engine of change. Like, the Industrial Revolution had the steam engine.
The information age had the microchip.
Exactly. We think of progress as a gradual, messy human endeavor. But this text, it completely rejects that entire model of human evolution.
It totally throws out the concept of a slow, steady march of progress. The text explicitly argues that humanity is experiencing what they call a qualitative leap in awareness.
Slow leap.
Right, and it places a highly specific, incredibly short timeline on this leap. The author boldly states that the knowledge and wisdom humanity will gain in the next 5 years will completely dwarf the accumulation of the past 5,000 years.
Let's just hold on that timeline for a second, because the scale of that claim is, it's difficult to even process. 5,000 years encompasses almost all of recorded human history.
Basically everything.
Yeah. The invention of the wheel, building the pyramids, the printing press, splitting the atom, mapping the human genome, all of it is supposedly nothing.
Just a drop in the bucket.
Right. It's a mere prologue compared to the explosion of understanding that this text claims will happen in a single 5-year window.
It compresses the timeline of human evolution into a microfraction of what our brains are used to conceptualizing.
Which is disorienting.
Very. When a text does this, it induces a sense of temporal vertigo. It tells the reader that everything they have ever learned, everything their ancestors built, is functionally inadequate for what is about to happen next.
Which raises the immediate question, how is this supposedly happening?
Right.
My first instinct reading this was to look for a technological trigger. Like, are they predicting a technological singularity, the sudden emergence of a godlike AI?
That would make sense in a modern context.
Right. But the author completely bypasses human technology. They attribute this sudden, massive change to the impacting energy of new photons in the universe.
New photons.
Yeah. The text refers to this as a rapid sublimation of life, rather than a long and gradual change.
What's fascinating here is how the text frames this shift by invoking astrophysics. Specifically, this impacting energy of new photons in the universe to completely remove human agency from the equation.
Whoa, that's a really good point.
Think about it. If societal change is caused by human politics, economics, or technology, then humans retain power. They can debate the change, they can legislate it.
They can slow it down or protest it.
Exactly. But if the catalyst is a cosmic event, an influx of literal universal energy bombarding the planet, it becomes an unavoidable force of nature.
It takes the steering wheel entirely out of our hands.
It turns a philosophical proposition into an incoming weather event. You cannot negotiate with a photon.
No, you definitely can't.
You cannot debate a cosmic wave. You can only react to it. By attributing the new era to an unstoppable universal force, the text immediately forces a sense of absolute urgency and compliance upon the reader.
So if the universe is forcefully upending humanity via these new photons, what happens to the existing structures of our world?
Well, the text does not paint a pretty picture for the status quo.
Not at all. Building directly on the idea of this cosmic catalyst, the author insists that there is simply no time to improve the incomplete consciousness of humanity.
There's no reforming the current system.
None. The concept of reform requires patience and compromise. The text argues that the timeline is just too short for either.
Instead, it mandates that the old order must be completely destroyed. The exact phrasing used is that the new era will require rebuilding a paradise of Haven, spelled Haven, though clearly implying heaven on the ruins.
The word ruins is doing a lot of heavy lifting there.
It really is.
It implies a complete leveling of civilization. The text specifies exactly what must be destroyed, demanding the breakdown of all boundaries. It lists the boundaries of countries, religions, regions, and cultures.
Everything that divides us.
Right, but it pushes even further into the personal sphere, stating that the new era will deliver a great shock to the traditional idea of family. It promises to sweep away all old concepts, moralities, and traditional habits.
It is proposing a total erasure of human categorization. Think about how a person defines their identity in the modern world.
Right, it's usually a web of affiliations.
Exactly. Nationality, cultural heritage, religious beliefs, familial bonds. The text classifies all of those foundational identity markers as part of the old order that must be destroyed to make way for the new.
Targeting the traditional family is a particularly aggressive stance. The family is often the deepest emotional tie a person has.
And practically, it's the core unit of resistance to new, sweeping ideologies.
That makes total sense. If your primary loyalty is to your parents, your spouse, or your children, your loyalty is divided. The text demands undivided allegiance to the new era.
To drive this point home, the author uses an incredibly vivid metaphor for those who try to resist this change.
Oh, I love this part.
Right. The text describes people who attempt to hold on to their antiquated philosophies and traditional habits as hoping to obtain a piece of worn boat deck of the old times to survive the incoming billows of the new era.
It's a great image, but let's update it to really capture the futility the author is conveying. It's like trying to weather a Category 5 hurricane by hiding under a soggy cardboard box.
Ah, yes, that's exactly the vibe.
The text is telling you it's fundamentally futile to hold on to your current life. The underlying hardware of reality is changing so fast and so fundamentally that your old operating system is completely useless.
The storm is too big, and the worn boat deck of your current life is already sinking. If we connect this to the bigger picture, look at the stark binary the author is constructing. In the worldview presented by the text, you are given exactly two choices.
Just two.
Only two. You are either a pioneer, someone who is open, joyous, and choosing an ascending life, or you are someone stubbornly clinging to the mud of the old world, struggling for superficial power and benefits.
Effectively choosing a descending life.
Precisely. There is zero middle ground allowed.
Ascending or descending. A pioneer or a casualty. There is no standing still, and there is no compromise.
None.
By framing the current world as a doomed, sinking ship and the new era as the only way up, the text makes indecision look like a fatal error.
It is a classic rhetorical technique designed to force immediate commitment. It tells the reader that if you aren't actively dismantling your old life and preparing for the ruins, you are actively choosing to drown with the old world.
Okay, so if the text mandates the destruction of your country, your religion, and your family, it creates a terrifying vacuum for the reader.
A huge void.
Right. If your worn boat deck is gone and the ruins are all that remain of the old world, where do you go to survive the incoming cosmic storm?
Well, the text provides a very specific monopolistic answer to that vacuum. It urges readers to abandon all prejudice and turn exclusively to life genuine.
Life Genuine is framed not just as a good option, but as the single, exclusive core area for leading the new era.
The only safe harbor.
Yeah. The author makes the sweeping claim that no other organization, government, or spiritual group in the world has the foresight or the ability to unify all global religions and political parties.
Is life genuine or absolute destruction? Notice the escalation in the text's rhetoric here.
Yeah, it definitely shifts gears.
It moves abruptly from discussing a joyous new era of awareness to issuing a severe apocalyptic warning about what happens to those who do not join.
It gets really dark, literally. The text warns of future difficult days where the earth will be shrouded in darkness. It explicitly states that there will be no light coming from the sun or the moon.
Right, so we have moved from a metaphorical storm of new ideas to a physical, terrifying blackout of the solar system.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because the text presents a highly specific, almost bureaucratic-sounding solution to this cosmic apocalypse.
The paperwork for the end of the world.
Exactly. To survive the extinguishing of the sun and moon, you cannot just rely on your own moral compass. You have to formally enter life genuine, become what they call a genuine celestial.
And obtain something called a visa of life.
Yes, a visa of life. Let's pull that concept apart because it is fascinating to see a cosmic event met with paperwork.
It really is.
A visa is fundamentally a border control mechanism. It is a document that grants you permission to enter a specific territory, and crucially, it must be issued by a recognized authority.
You can't just print your own visa.
Right. You cannot grant yourself entry.
It establishes absolute authority. A visa implies a gatekeeper who judges your worthiness to cross the threshold. This highlights the text's complete dismissal of individual power.
Which they state outright, don't they?
They do. The author explicitly states that trying to navigate this new era with individual power is unpractical. You cannot survive this on your own merits or by your own solitary spiritual practice in the woods.
By positioning Life Genuine as the sole issuing authority for this visa of life and the only source of light during the coming apocalyptic darkness, the text attempts to make membership an absolute matter of survival.
It ceases to be a philosophy you can ponder.
Right. It becomes the only lifeboat legally allowed to operate on Earth.
Once you secure this visa, you make it onto the lifeboat. But survival is just the baseline. The text outlines what life actually looks like on the other side of this transition, and the psychological demands placed on a genuine celestial.
And it demands a complete cognitive overhaul.
Totally.
It's not enough to just physically join the group or verbally agree with their tenets. Your entire internal mechanism for processing reality has to change.
The language the author uses to describe this new mindset is incredibly dense.
Very. The text instructs these new angels and masters to take wing using non-form thinking, Taiji thinking, and heart image thinking. All of this to move toward an ultimate state called holographic order thinking.
Let's decipher what those terms are actually pointing toward before we analyze why they are used.
Please do.
So, Taiji thinking likely refers to the concept of Taiji in Chinese philosophy, holding balancing opposites like yin and yang in your mind simultaneously without conflict.
Okay, that sort of makes sense.
Right. And holographic order thinking plays on the idea of a hologram, where every tiny fragment contains the image of the entire whole. In this context, it suggests viewing every individual action as a perfect reflection of the universal collective.
So a mindset where you lose your distinct individual edges and view yourself purely as a node in the larger cosmic whole.
Essentially, yes.
So what does this all mean? I have to push back on this, though, because as a reader encountering this text, I look at these phrases and wonder how to execute holographic order thinking while making breakfast on a Tuesday.
Right. How do you actually do it?
Yeah. The text focuses relentlessly on the emotional and cosmic payoff of these thinking styles, but it completely lacks any practical step-by-step instructions on how to actually rewire your brain to achieve them.
This raises an important question about how texts of this nature function, especially when they deliberately use highly specialized insider language.
Like the Taiji thinking and holographic order.
Exactly. The purpose of terms like that isn't necessarily to provide a clear, actionable instruction manual. Their primary function is to create an exclusive club.
Ah, so it's a linguistic gatekeeping mechanism.
Precisely that. Every specialized group has a unique vocabulary, but in the context of a manifesto claiming to hold the sole path to salvation, this dense language serves as a barrier to entry.
And a profound marker of belonging.
Yes. Once you invest the time to learn the language, once you start speaking to others in terms of visas of life and non-form thinking, You earn your place in the universal family where all humanity is unified.
You tangibly separate yourself from the outsiders still clinging to the old world.
You prove you are enlightened enough to understand the doctrine.
And if you adopt this language, this mindset, and abandon your old life, the promised reward is incredibly lavish. The text paints a picture of a sunny and prosperous fairyland.
The literal fairyland.
Yeah, it promises that the value of your life will take on a completely new meaning. It claims your knowledge and wisdom will increase geometrically, implying explosive, exponential growth in your personal understanding of the universe.
It presents the ultimate utopian vision, engineered to contrast as sharply as possible with the incoming ruins and apocalyptic darkness it threatened earlier.
The promises just keep escalating. It says you will be surrounded by the love of the greatest creator and live among brothers, sisters, and lovers in perfect harmony.
It sounds idyllic.
But the most staggering promise the text makes is that you will experience hourly happiness and excitement that you have never experienced before.
Hourly happiness.
Hourly, not contentment, not peace, but active hourly excitement and joy.
It is an incredibly potent psychological lure. Think about the mechanics of promising hourly happiness. We live in a world defined by stress, baseline anxiety, economic uncertainty, and complex, often painful interpersonal conflicts.
It's exhausting.
It is. To be offered a literal guarantee of unbroken happiness, geometric wisdom, and absolute belonging in one universal family, it directly targets the deepest exhaustion of the modern human condition.
It essentially guarantees the total eradication of all negative human emotion, provided you make it into this fairyland where all under heaven are of one unified family.
That's a powerful draw.
Which brings us back to you, the listener, and why spending time doing deep dives into a document as extreme and absolute as this one is so valuable.
Examining these texts provides a stark mirror. It reflects the immense pressures and anxieties of the world we currently inhabit.
Because we live in an overwhelmingly complex, rapidly changing reality, it's noisy, the political and social divides are deep, and navigating daily life can feel incredibly precarious.
And when things feel hopelessly out of control, it is a deeply human instinct to crave absolute certainty.
Yes. And this text, despite its dense jargon and terrifying apocalyptic warnings, offers the ultimate commodity, a clean narrative.
It replaces the terrifying, messy complexity of reality with a perfectly ordered black and white framework. It names the problem, the old order. It provides the lifeboat, life genuine. It issues the ticket, the visa of life.
It promises a perfectly unified community where the ambiguity of modern existence is replaced by clear rules and guaranteed hourly happiness. You never have to feel lost, lonely, or uncertain again.
A very tempting offer.
But that perfectly clean narrative comes at a monumental cost, which is exactly where I want to leave our deep dive for today.
Right.
The text promises a sunny and prosperous fairyland. But remember the strict condition for entering that fairyland? It requires the total sweeping destruction of the boundaries of nations.
The very traditions of global religions.
Yes, the richness of distinct cultures, and even the messy, complex bonds of the traditional family. All of it must be entirely swept away into ruins in favor of one singular universal family governed by one exclusive core area.
It demands everything.
So I ask you to ponder this as you go about your day. When absolute global unity requires the complete and utter destruction of all individual, cultural, and geographic differences, does that ultimately sound like a perfect utopia or the loss of the very diversity that makes us human?
A vital question for anyone navigating the promises of a new era.
Thanks for joining us to explore the architecture of this text. Keep diving deep.